Super Thursday with Chip and Louie from Louie Herron Toyota. Louie, we're going to find out about the 4 critical mistakes when buying a car.
Yes, and I'm sure there are many more, but to simplify it, really wanted to come up with some things that I thought were just quick hitting that would help people really identify some mistakes. Again, the importance of not making a mistake in car buying, the bottom line is you're going to minimize wasting the money. I mean, you're also going to minimize losing some of the upfront stuff on the car you buy 3 years later in a trade. In other words, in making a mistake in car buying, not only do you lose money today, you could lose money 3 years from now by not making the right decision 3 years prior. We talked about last week about how you can find the information on overall ownership of the car, and look at that math and understand how that's going to work. You also can minimize your mistakes, or by making a wrong decision, can also minimize the money you can lose on the financing. Okay. So we want to kind of wrap around a lot of that stuff, and again, create worry-free buying. I mean, if you think about it, when you're buying a house, are you nervous? Are you scared?
Yes.
Chip, right?
Yes.
I mean, when you get a mortgage, do you get a little nervous or scared?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And I think that's normal. So what I want to do is I want to just eliminate at least the worry-free buying. I mean, when you go in, you're confident, because the fact of the matter is, if you're listening now, you don't buy a car once every 4 or 5 years. Some cases 6 or 7 years. So if you don't do it all the time, you can't be an expert at it, right? So
exactly.
You utilize this information. Mistake number 1. You have something, Chip.
Well, before you start that, you have not shown me the list. I just want to guess at one of the big ones.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Just walking out, leaving the dealership before you hear the whole deal.
Actually negotiating, finding the car, negotiating, and leaving before you get all the deal handled. Yes. Yeah. That's not one of my 4 biggest.
Oh, okay.
But I'll tell you, that's a good one though, because I want to add something to that. So make sure we cover that before we get off. Just remind yourself, and we'll get into that.
All right.
The first mistake, one of the first common critical mistakes, is not understanding what fair market value on your trade really is. Okay? Now, how can that be a mistake? Well, you need to understand 60% of all car deals are lost over the trade, the perception of the trade, the confusion of the trade, the over-allowance on the trade. You go to this store, to that store, he was giving me 10, why are you giving me 7? I mean, what I will tell you, one critical thing, especially if you're a math person, if you're looking apples to apples on any car on earth you want to buy, in other words, you're looking at a Honda Accord and a Honda Accord at 2 different dealerships, and the trade is on both deals, and you're confused about why this guy was giving me 10 and you're giving me 8, all you have to focus on is the difference figure. The difference figure. The difference between their car and your car is X. Is that, you understand what I'm saying, Chip? And here's what I'm telling you. If I'm selling my car for $1 million and I'm giving you $900,000, okay, the difference is $100,000, right?
Yep.
Well, if I'm selling you my car for $900,000 and giving you $800,000 for the car, what's the difference?
50.
Well, it's the same difference, right? It's $100,000 different.
Yeah.
But the price has changed. The bottom line is
same difference.
Yeah, the difference figure is the most important thing. In other words, you don't want to focus on the price, or you don't want to focus on the trade. What is my number after both?
I got you.
Because when you're comparing and shopping, you want to be apples to apples.
Yeah.
All it really means is somebody gave you a larger discount, less for your trade, and this guy gave you more trade and less discount. So you want to make sure you don't get caught up in that. So the mistake number 1 is really not understanding market value on your trade. This is why, if you call an insurance company and you may owe $10,000 on your car, and a deer, you hit a deer, and the car's totaled, and the insurance is giving you $6,000, and you look at them kind of crazy. Again, that's market value. They're giving you market value. Now, you don't look, or you may think, man, the insurance companies just they're doing me dirty. Well, no, they're doing their market research on what they're going to do, what they're going to cut a check for. That's why gap insurance is so important. Do you know what gap insurance is, Chip?
The difference between what you owe and the value? Correct.
When you're at a car dealership or at a credit union or at a local bank, even local banks offer this as well when they're doing financing on a car, they always offer gap insurance. And a lot of people just disregard that. I don't want any insurance. I mean, I'm one of the world's worst. I rent a car at Avis. Well, do you want this? What do you want? No, and no. I don't want any of that stuff, right? Well, I think customers are very similar when they come to buy a car. They get in the business office and they're offered other additional options that are available to them. We offer them, credit unions offer them, and they're quick to say no. This is one that I will tell you above anything else, you got to get gap insurance, which is not one of the mistakes. I just brought a point up. You got to get gap insurance. Now, the importance of gap insurance is because of negative equity and so on and so forth. You're typically always going to owe more on the car than what it's worth because market value is going to be less than what you still owe on the vehicle until you get to that 3 or 4 year period. We talked a few shows back about that roller coaster ride, right? That first couple of years is the biggest hit you're going to take. So unless you put a lot of cash down, which most people don't, you're going to have some negative equity.
Yeah, and it's probably not that expensive.
That's correct.
It's depending on how much the gap
$450
is.
gap insurance.
Yeah.
It should run you somewhere between $375 to $500 depending on what level of gap insurance you buy. There's a couple different options. But you got to understand on your trade in terms of understanding what market value really is on your trade. The dealers, and I don't care if you're in Montana all the way to Fort Lauderdale, no one is going to give you retail on your car. So when you do research and you look and you say, well, they're selling on Auto Trader for $20,000. You can't expect $20,000 when you get a dealership because if they take the car in trade, they're going to turn around and get the car ready to go so they can sell it for $20,000.
Right.
So you're going to get wholesale, but you got to understand it's not necessarily a raw deal or a bad deal. We are trading for cars, but it's not just you. If I was in the auction tomorrow and I'm buying the car, I'm not going to buy a car in the lane at the auction for retail. I'm buying it for wholesale, whether that's from Toyota Financial, whether that's from Bank of America, whether that's a repo sale, whether that's a lease turn-in, whether it's a fleet car. So the expectation, understanding of what market value really is critical. So a rule of thumb on how you don't make this mistake is you want to go to theautoschool.com and then go to the links page where Kelley Blue Book is at. This is just one example. Click on fair market value. Fair. They give you options of good and they give you options of excellent. Again, we're going in terms of what a dealer is going to give you. You got to look at fair, and then you're going to be safe. Not all the time is fair market value on KBB going to be right on the button.
Right. So
the main thing, though, is you're going to be close, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to get into a fighting match with a dealership and you leave there upset because the expectation of the bar, you're thinking Auto Trader when you need to be thinking fair market value for your trade. Now, here's the key. A lot of people say, well, if I go in a dealership, they're going to charge me sticker for theirs and give me fair market value for mine. Well, that's not a good deal. That's not a good deal. The key is if you're getting fair market value for yours, then you want to pay fair market value for theirs. Right. Okay, so there's no sense in paying, sticker and getting nothing for yours. That's not fair. No more than it is buying ours for below invoice and getting Auto Trader money for yours.
Right.
So it works both ways. But I think the expectations get messed up when you hear all these advertisements that a lot of dealerships do across the country. You've heard the old statement, "We'll pay off your car no matter what you owe," right? So you hear that. Or how about the old pull it in, drag it in,
pull it, drag
or
it,
tow it in, right?
Yeah.
So, people have to understand advertisement is simply just a solicitation for sale, okay? It's to create traffic and understanding that we want you to inquire on what we have and so on and so forth. So, again, going back on how you cannot make the mistake of not understanding what market value is, go to theautoschool.com, go to Kelley Blue Book, which is the link on there. Once you get there, pull it up, pull in your information on your car, and click fair market value. Chip, I will tell you, if you can do that, you're not going to make a mistake. And here's the good news, is you may not like the figure, but it's the fair figure. It is the wholesale figure. Right. The key is you got to make sure that you get the same type of value when you're buying the new car or the newer used car.
Right.
So that's mistake number one. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get off that, and we're going to focus on the one that I think you're going to debate me on. So if you're listening, you're not going to want to hear this because this is going to be part of Dealer Profit.
Oh.
So you're going to want to stay tuned for this
All
one.
right. From the dealer himself. All right. Louie Herron of LouieHerronToyota.com or theautoschool.com. It is Super Thursday with Louie and Chip. Back with more right after this on The Dock. If you ran a bank, you'd support local charities, right? And not just with money, but personally. So while it's great that Bank South is a big supporter